We're here today aboard the Fountaine Pajot Aura 51. So Fountaine Pajot have designed the system on board here to have three main sources of power input. The generation of power is through your solar panels, 2 kilowatts, through your hydro regeneration, effectively that's your propellers that spin when you're under sail and put power back into the batteries. And thirdly, you've got your diesel generator, which on this boat is a 32 kilowatt Kohler genset. The objective is to try never to use your diesel genset. If you're out cruising across the doing an ocean passage, and you've got good breeze and you're sailing along and you've got great sunshine, you should therefore be able to each day just keep your batteries full using the inputs of the solar and the hydro regeneration. The diesel genset is there as your backup. It's the thing that we use to power the boat when we haven't got solar or hydro regeneration input. Importantly, if you do have to sail or do operate the boat using the diesel genset, the fuel consumption of that is 20% less than if you were using traditional engines. So people say, what happens if we are just going to run the genset all day long to power, to propel our boat? That's fine, but you'll be doing it with 20% less diesel than if you had your normal engine arrangement. With the electric propulsion units, if we were to depart the marina now using these very sexy little propulsion throttles, for about 2 hours we could do 7 or 8 knots of boat speed. So if you are wanting to just leave the marina and come back to the marina, if your style of operation is that, then you can mostly just be using your electric engines all the time and have no restriction on speed. If you're sailing, let's say doing an ocean crossing across the Atlantic, it's quite often that people will, to maintain their average speeds when they're doing deliveries or when they're doing crossings, always will do what we call motor assisted sailing. And that's also very possible. And on a boat like this, it would be that you might have one engine with its one of the propulsion units. I have to stop using the word engine because they're not. But one of the propulsion units in gear, just adding some what we call power assisted sailing, so that you can just maintain an average speed. So you might be sailing along at 5 knots, a little bit of power assist, you might up your average to 6.5, but you're not draining the batteries at a great rate of knots. Excuse the pun. An important factor to always consider is redundancy and safety. One thing, first of all, is that both of the lithium battery banks and the power units are completely independent of each other where needed, or obviously work together where needed. So it means that if one system was to fail, you can always still, just like in a diesel engine, you can still operate on the other propulsion unit. So that's really important. The other redundancy is that if, for instance, there was an issue with the port side lithium battery bank, How do we deal with that? You can redirect the power from the generator, so it goes from the gen set, so it goes directly to the propulsion unit. So they've considered those sorts of safety matters and considered how to ensure that in most situations there is always a way to maintain a source of propulsion. So that's very important. Okay, so here we are, we're standing in the engine room. It's a bit of a surprise because there's no engine. There is no diesel power plant. I'm standing on top of a lithium battery bank. Over here is the control unit, which is effectively controlling all the inputs and outputs and all of the power management system is what they call it. A bit like a Victron unit on most of the other models. And then underneath the lithium battery bank, we can't even see it. It's just a few electrical cables that go down to a pod, an access point to a pod, which is putting the power down underneath the boat into the torpedo-shaped pod, which inside that is the electric propulsion unit, and then obviously the propeller. So it's a very smart, simple system.